My friends, kicking off this matchup, everything about this moment feels like a crossroads for the Philadelphia Eagles. After back-to-back losses to Dallas and Chicago, the room for error is gone, and everyone inside the building knows it. Monday night against the Los Angeles Chargers isn't just another game on the schedule. It's the start of a stretch run, the beginning of the push toward the postseason, and a test that will immediately reveal whether this team is ready to steady itself and reclaim the form it believes it's capable of sustaining for a full 60 minutes. And the challenge ahead is very real. Los Angeles enters at 8-4, with a powerful running attack, a disciplined defense, and a quarterback situation wrapped in mystery. That alone shifts the entire dynamic of how this game may unfold. Because right now, nobody outside that Chargers locker room truly knows what to expect under center. Justin Herbert is officially questionable after surgery on his non-throwing hand and a week of limited practice while wearing a cast. He couldn't take full-speed reps, couldn't operate the offense at the tempo they're used to, and yet the team insists they're optimistic he'll play. Maybe that's gamesmanship, maybe it's legitimate confidence, but as of now, there's no definitive answer. That forces the Eagles to prepare for two extremely different quarterbacks. If it's Herbert, they're dealing with a polished, high IQ passer who can attack every inch of the field. If it's Trey Lance, everything changes. He brings unpredictability, mobility, designed runs, and improvisation that challenge a defense in totally different ways. Each quarterback forces you to call a different defensive game, to adjust your pressure concepts, to handle scrambling lanes differently, and Vic Fangio knows the entire complexion of this matchup swings on the identity of that starter. But no matter who takes the snaps, the Chargers want to run the ball, and they're built to do it. That's the identity they've leaned on all season, and they get a significant boost with the return of Amarian Hampton. Before his ankle injury, Hampton averaged 4.8 yards per carry and functioned as the most efficient cog in their offense. Now he's back, fully participating late in the week, and ready to slide into his role immediately. And behind him, Kamani Vidal has carved out his own punch-you-in-the-mouth style, putting up 137 scrimmage yards just last week and leading the team with 543 rushing yards on the season. It's a physical 1-2 attack that demands discipline from the first snap. The Eagles know stopping the run has to be priority number one, especially with the defensive line missing Jalen Carter. His absence forces a larger burden onto Byron Young, Jordan Davis, and Moro Ojomo. Davis has been surging, Young has been steady, and Ojomo has shown growth, but Carter's disruption changes everything when he's on the field. Without him, the margin tightens. And if the Chargers decide to slide protection toward Jalen Phillips, someone else along that interior must win those one-on-one matchups consistently. On the other side of the ball, this Eagles offense is searching, desperately, for rhythm, identity, and consistency. Everyone in that locker room feels the same way. This should be clicking by now. They know the talent is there, but self-inflicted mistakes continue to derail drives and stall opportunities. DeVonta Smith said it plainly, too many wounds they've caused themselves, and they're walking into a matchup against a defense that simply doesn't hand you anything. The Chargers disguise, they hit, they contest, they rotate fronts, and they force quarterbacks to work through muddy windows. Derwin James is the heart of it all, lining up everywhere and affecting plays before they even develop. Nick Sirianni emphasized this week how important it is to track James on every snap, and he isn't exaggerating. This is a defense that thrives on creating confusion and feasting on hesitation, and they're strong on every down, first, second, and especially third, where the Eagles absolutely must improve. Combine that with a pass rush featuring Khalil Mack and Tuli Tuipulotu, who already has 10 sacks, and you're looking at a test that demands extreme precision. Turnovers also remain a major hinge point. When the Eagles protect the ball, they win. When they don't, everything collapses. Their +5 turnover margin this season stands in stark contrast to the Chargers' -1, and the difference has mattered. If the Eagles want to regain their footing, that must start with ball security and pressure on Herbert or Lance. The Chargers give up sacks, and those strip sack opportunities could completely tilt momentum. But as big as the defensive storylines are, the offensive spotlight naturally lands on Jalen Hurts. With 27 total touchdowns and just 5 giveaways, he's been as efficient as anyone in the league, ranking 6th in passer rating. And once the Eagles enter the red zone, they're the most efficient touchdown offense in the NFL. This matchup becomes even more intriguing when you contrast that with the Chargers, who sit near the bottom of the league in red zone scoring. That's the kind of disparity that can determine games. As we move deeper into this breakdown, the question becomes clear. With all these storylines colliding, uncertainty at quarterback for Los Angeles, the return of Hampton, the missing presence of Jalen Carter, the Eagles' push for identity on offense, what do you, the fans, think will ultimately shape this game the most? Picking up right where we left off, the The entire storyline of this matchup now shifts to how the Eagles respond when the lights come on and the pressure is at its peak. Because for all the tactical angles, injury reports, and matchup puzzles, what really matters is whether this team can finally deliver that full 60-minute performance they've been chasing since the season's opening stretch. Everything in the building has been pointing toward urgency. Coaches feel it, players feel it, and fans absolutely feel it. This is the moment where execution has to outweigh excuses, and where the Eagles need to re-establish the standard they set for themselves long before the losses to Dallas and Chicago darkened the mood. The offense enters this game knowing exactly what must change. Jalen Hurts has been statistically efficient, but efficiency on paper is very different from rhythm on the field, and rhythm is what has been missing. Too many drives have been derailed by avoidable penalties, miscommunications, or hesitation at the snap. Those are the kinds of issues that can turn an average defense into a great one when you face a unit as disciplined as the Chargers. And this Chargers defense does not waste opportunities. Their rotations on the back end are sharp, their fronts shift pre-snap to force protection adjustments, and Derwin James is constantly moving to disguise pressure or coverage. For the Eagles to move the ball consistently, their pre-snap operation has to be cleaner than it has been in weeks. Every receiver must be aligned correctly, every protection call has to be crisp, and Hurts must be confident in his first read because Los Angeles thrives on forcing quarterbacks to hold the ball a half-second longer than they want. Then there's the challenge on the offensive line. Jordan Mailata and Fred Johnson will see a heavy dose of Tuli Tuipulotu and Khalil Mack, one of the most physically demanding pass rush duos in the league this season. Tuipulotu might not have the name recognition of Mack, but he's been the more productive rusher this year with 10 sacks and a motor that doesn't shut off. Philadelphia needs to win those edge battles not just to protect Hurts, but to create opportunities for the run game to find the balance that has been missing recently. When this offense operates at its best, it's because they can dictate drives through a blend of physicality and tempo, but falling behind the sticks makes that impossible. They cannot let that happen again. Defensively, the focus intensifies on the interior of the line. Without Jalen Carter, the rotation changes dramatically. Byron Young, Jordan Davis, and Moro Ojomo must collectively provide the disruption that Carter typically generates on his own. Davis has been trending upward, commanding double teams and collapsing pockets with power, but Young's consistency and Ojomo's growth will play a massive role in keeping the Chargers' ground game from controlling the pace. Vic Fangio's scheme relies heavily on discipline, angles, and timely pressure, but none of that matters if the line of scrimmage doesn't hold firm against Amarian Hampton's return and the burst of Kamani Vidal. Los Angeles wants to run early, run often, and build their offense off that success. If the Eagles force them into long passing situations, especially if Justin Herbert isn't fully healthy, that could tilt the entire game. And special teams can't be overlooked. Cameron Dicker has been automatic for Los Angeles, hitting over 93% of his field goals in his career. If this turns into a tight, grinding game, Dicker becomes a major factor. The Eagles need to avoid giving the Chargers favorable field position, because every drive that ends in 3 points instead of 0 adds pressure. Ultimately, everything leads to a simple truth. Philadelphia has the talent advantage, but talent only matters if it shows up cleanly, consistently, and without the self-inflicted mistakes that have haunted this team recently. Monday night is a chance to reset the tone before the postseason push tightens even further. Now the real question is, as we head into this critical matchup, what do you think the Eagles absolutely must fix first? Offensive rhythm, run defense without Jalen Carter, or the turnover issues that derailed them in the last 2 games? Continuing the story, this is the point in the season when every snap carries weight, every adjustment matters, and every mistake can change the trajectory of the playoff race. And for the Eagles, Monday night represents more than just a test of talent, it's a test of resolve. After 2 straight losses, the biggest challenge isn't just the Chargers. It's rediscovering the version of this team that plays with conviction, discipline, and the kind of edge that forces opponents to bend first. As we dig deeper into this matchup, one of the most important elements becomes situational football, something the Eagles must reclaim if they want to finish this season the right way. Third downs have been a pain point all year, and against a Chargers defense that ranks strong across every down, efficiency is non-negotiable. This is where Jalen Hurts must take command, making quick decisions and trusting the timing of his playmakers. The Chargers are going to disguise coverage, roll safeties late, and make Hurts diagnose under pressure. But this is also where his strengths shine, his poise, his calm under fire, and his ability to create when the first option isn't there. Another key factor is red zone execution. While Philadelphia leads the league in red zone touchdown efficiency, they've had fewer opportunities lately because drives haven't been sustained. It's one thing to be elite inside the 20, it's another to actually get there consistently. That's where the chemistry between Hurts, A.J. Brown, and DeVonta Smith needs to rise again, not only on deep shots, but also on the intermediate routes that set up manageable downs. And with the Chargers showing strong discipline in red zone defense, every detail matters: spacing, leverage, timing, patience. One misstep can be the difference between 7 points and a stalled possession. On defense, Vic Fangio finds himself in one of the more interesting schematic challenges of the season. Preparing for Justin Herbert and preparing for Trey Lance are almost two separate game plans. Herbert is a rhythm passer. Lance is a chaos creator. Herbert wins with timing and anticipation. Lance wins with movement and improvisation. And the Eagles must be ready to handle both without knowing which one they'll see. This means maintaining gap integrity, setting the edges firmly, and communicating at a level we haven't consistently seen in recent weeks. The linebackers, especially, cannot afford hesitation. The Chargers will use motion, misdirection, and outside zone concepts to stretch the defense horizontally and test reaction speed. And with Amari and Hampton returning, everything Los Angeles does begins with the run. Hampton brings power and balance, while Kamani Vidal adds burst and patience. If the Eagles lose the line of scrimmage early, the Chargers can dictate tempo, keep the Philadelphia offense off the field, and shorten the game. This makes the performance of Jordan Davis even more critical. He has grown into his role this year, but now he must anchor the middle with authority. Byron Young will also be counted on to continue his steady production, while Moro Ojomo steps into one of the biggest opportunities of his young career. They don't need to replace Jalen Carter individually, they need to replicate his disruption collectively. Then there's the hidden battle, early game momentum. The Chargers have been aggressive and efficient on opening drives, scoring 4 touchdowns and 4 field goals this season. Starting fast matters, and the Eagles haven't consistently done that lately. Falling behind early on the road can drastically change play calling, energy, and confidence. A sharp defensive opening series could flip the pulse of the entire night. All of these layers bring us to the heart of this matchup. This game is as much about the Eagles re-establishing themselves as contenders as it is about beating the Chargers. The talent is there. The leadership is there. The opportunities are there. But can they put together the clean, disciplined, physical performance that fans have been waiting to see? If you're locked in for this showdown and want more breakdowns like this, make sure you're subscribed to the channel, drop a like to support the work, and stick around. There's more great content on the screen for you right now. Continuing the narrative, it's impossible to ignore that this game arrives at a moment when the Eagles must prove something not only to the league, but to themselves. The sense of urgency is real, and it's been echoed all week inside the building. Coaches have emphasized sharper execution, players have stressed accountability, and the tone in the locker room has shifted from frustration to determination. These are the weeks that separate contenders from teams simply hoping things fall their way. The Eagles can no longer rely on talent alone. They need precision, discipline, and the kind of emotional spark that ignites championship runs. That spark often begins with leadership, and once again the spotlight turns toward Jalen Hurts. His numbers speak for themselves, 27 touchdowns to just 5 giveaways and a top-tier passer rating. But leadership isn't measured in statistics, and this is a moment where his voice and presence matter as much as any throw he will make. Hurts sets the tone for the offense in how he handles adversity, how he rallies the huddle, and how he responds when the pressure is at its highest. Against a defense as aggressive and disciplined as the Chargers, Hurts must balance patience with decisiveness, using his legs when needed but avoiding the kind of high-risk situations that could swing the momentum early. The offensive identity also needs to take shape. This team is at its best when physicality meets creativity. Strong runs, quick timing throws, layered play-action concepts, all of these pieces need to reappear with consistency. The Chargers' defensive front is versatile, and their pressure looks can force offenses to abandon structure. But if the Eagles can stay ahead of the chains, reduce pre-snap penalties, and protect the ball, this matchup becomes far more favorable. A.J. Brown and DeVonta Smith are capable of taking over drives on their own, but they need opportunities created by a stable rhythm. The offensive line must give Hurts time, and Hurts must reward them by playing on schedule. Meanwhile, the defensive storyline continues to build around the group stepping up in Jalen Carter's absence. The defensive line has long been the heartbeat of Philadelphia football, and this game will test its depth. Jordan Davis has an opportunity to dominate the interior and force the Chargers into uncomfortable down and distance situations. Byron Young's continued development could be a pivotal factor, especially against a run-heavy opponent. And Jaylon Phillips must make the Chargers pay if they choose to slide protection away from him. Fangio's scheme thrives when the front four generates pressure without sacrificing coverage, and that will be crucial against a quarterback like Herbert or a dynamic athlete like Lance. Communication on the back end becomes just as important. Motion-heavy offenses can create confusion, but the Eagles must remain disciplined. Safeties and linebackers must recognize alignments quickly, understand run-pass tendencies, and react without hesitation. Missed fits or misreads could turn modest runs into explosive plays. And against a team that wants to shorten the game and dominate time of possession, that's the last thing Philadelphia can allow. Special teams also hold weight. Cameron Dicker has been almost automatic for Los Angeles, turning stalled drives into 3 points with one of the most reliable legs in the league. Field position will matter. Hidden yards will matter. The Eagles can't afford miscues that set up short fields or force the defense into high-pressure situations. As we step back and look at the full picture, everything funnels into the same central idea. This game is a chance for the Eagles to set their tone for the final stretch of the season. Win the turnover battle. Win the trenches. Play disciplined football. And show the kind of identity that carries into January. The pressure surrounding the Eagles becomes less about X's and O's and more about how a team responds when its season reaches a defining point. Sometimes a game like this forces a team to confront everything that hasn't been working and decide whether it will rise to the moment or let the moment control it. And for Philadelphia, this moment has arrived. The miscues, the miscommunication, the up and down play, all of it has led to a crossroads where the only way forward is through a complete, detailed, disciplined performance. Not flashes, not quarters, not isolated drives. 60 full minutes. And that challenge extends far beyond what shows up on film. It's mental toughness, situational awareness, and the ability to stay composed when the Chargers start throwing different looks, testing protection calls, and trying to force hesitation. This is where Jalen Hurts' temperament becomes one of the most important elements in the entire matchup. His calmness is contagious. When he operates with clarity, the rest of the offense tends to follow. The Eagles need him not just to make plays, but to set the emotional temperature of the game. He doesn't need to force deep shots early or take unnecessary risks. He needs to guide the offense into rhythm, keep drives alive, and trust the playmakers around him to finish. That also means the rest of the offense must elevate its details. Wide receivers can't afford depth errors or spacing mistakes, the offensive line can't allow communication breakdowns, and the running backs can't miss blitz pickups in a game where the Chargers will throw every coverage variation they can manage. Derwin James roaming pre-snap is a challenge most teams struggle to handle because he manipulates protections, disguises rotations, and attacks weaknesses with instinct. If the Eagles fall into long yardage situations, James becomes even more dangerous. That's why winning on early downs, something Philadelphia has been inconsistent with recently, could shape the entire blueprint of the night. Defensively, the tone must be set early. The Chargers want to lean on the run game, especially with Amari and Hampton returning to the lineup. The Eagles cannot let that happen. Jordan Davis and Byron Young need to anchor the interior and win leverage battles from the opening snap. If they can